PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome to PACTV Community News. This week we have some exciting stories from your communities. We visit the Ada Hall House in Pembroke for a summer update and meet the people behind the Jenny Museum in Plymouth.
We hear about the importance of storytelling from a local children's storyteller. And we bring you to the Plymouth 400 Bass and Blue Seafood Smackdown Contest.
Plymouth's town manager stops by for our Town Talk, and the arts and entertainment segment brings a very talented young jazz musician to the set.
We begin in Plymouth Harbor to hear about shark beacons that are being placed in our waters. Even if you haven't seen the movie Jaws, a fear of sharks is nothing to be ashamed of. They are genuinely scary, and if they attack you, they can do some serious damage. We met up with two young ladies who were attacked by a great white last September, lived to tell about it, and went back to where it happened to deliver that shark a message and hopefully collect some data on great whites in our area.
It's hard to believe that just a few hours before we shot this story, these skies were gray and cloudy, and there was some rain coming down. Lucky for us, the weather changed for the better, and we've got a beautiful day to hit the seas as we put out this shark buoy. And if you're wondering what a shark buoy is, it's not your run-of-the-mill channel marker.
What makes this different is there's actually an acoustic receiver on the bottom of the buoy. So the mooring and the chain and the buoy are just there to hold this acoustic receiver. And the acoustic receiver is probably about a 10 to 12 inch, almost black PVC looking object. But really that's the receiver that actually picks up on the ping from the acoustic tags that great whites are tagged with.
What prompted the placement of these receivers out in the harbor is the stuff of nightmares and scary movies. Less than 1 year ago, on a day much like this one, these two young ladies faced down the fear of their lives when a great white shark interrupted their day out on Stage Point by biting into the underside of one of their kayaks. Today would hopefully prove cathartic for Kristen Orr and Ida Parker as they placed the third and final shark receiver in the water. But before doing so, they decided to leave a message for the shark that ruined their peaceful day in the water last September.
Dear Sharky, thank you for being a good shark. Remember that kayaks are not food. He was a good shark. He knew that we weren't food, that he didn't want us, and he swam away, and I think, you know, we made some good decisions in the water and to keep everybody safe and happy, and we're very grateful and lucky to be here today.
And more important than the message to their shark friend was their debt of gratitude to the crew that saved them.
The 25 minutes that we spent waiting in the water was a lifetime, and to see them come around the point and to be there and know that we were going to be safe was huge.
Signing the buoy was the first stage. Next up, returning to the scene of the crime and delivering the message. We all boarded the harbor master's boat and headed out to Stage Point. We couldn't have asked for nicer weather or calmer waters. In fact, everyone kept mentioning how much it was like the day the attack took place. Once we got to the spot, it was time to drop it in and hope that it would collect data.
Okay.
I love to see when something positive comes from something so traumatic, and we're really excited to help kind of fuel the research around it.
The receiver will only detect sharks that are already tagged, and the results will take time to gather. But hopefully, this helped put the events of last September in the rear view.
I think we'd already kind of moved past a lot of it, but this is definitely icing on the cake.
It's a closing to the chapter.
It is.
On Plymouth Bay, I'm Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News.
That must have been a fun shoot to go on, and what great girls.
Yeah, they were really fun. You know, I would have probably been, I don't know, a little more somber in my approach to it, but they were Snapchatting and doing all the stuff the kids do like the whole time. So I think it kind of was behind them, and that was just the final chapter.
Good for them.
Yeah, it was awesome. For the past 4 years, Plymouth 400 has been hosting the Bass and Blue Fishing Tournament down on the waterfront. They spiced things up this year by adding a seafood smackdown, which isn't a wrestling match between crabs and lobsters, although that would have been pretty fun too. It was a cook-off between amateur chefs in the Foodzilla truck, and we caught all the action. More often than not, if you see the Foodzilla truck somewhere, there's a good chance there's a good time being had close by. It also means that food is being prepared, and in this case, it's part of a cooking contest. It's a seafood smackdown here in the waterfront in downtown Plymouth. The item of the day is fish tacos. It's all part of the Bass and Blue fishing tournament that's been going on for 4 years, but this day's events were the first of their kind. For the smackdown, they brought in celebrity chef Ray Alonji to give a play-by-play as the amateur chefs put together their fish tacos in the tight quarters of the Foodzilla truck.
I had a blast working with these guys. It's fun being able to show somebody something that, somebody teaching something and watching what they do, actually. One of the contestants was stirring something with a lemon zester. It's like, you would never do that, but that was, in the moment, it was awesome. So watching that was kind of fun. And sometimes you get to see how people who are not like classically trained, I guess you could say, what they would do in a certain situation. So I had a blast doing it, and I got to teach a little bit. So that's fun for me as a chef.
The two contestants were preparing their versions of fish tacos, with one using striped bass and the other using haddock. Of course, there would be a panel of judges to make the final ruling, so we were curious as to what it was they were looking for in this increasingly popular menu item.
I was looking for creativity, for use of flavors that you might not normally find in a taco that somebody makes out of their own house. Definitely the consistency of the produce, freshness, because obviously a fish taco you want it to be nice and fresh and light and summery.
In the end, it was the striped bass fish taco that won the judges over. The prize package included a showcase on PACTV, and the tacos would be featured on the menu at the New World Tavern in Plymouth for a weekend. But talking to contest winner Andrew Lauby, it seemed as though he could have won or lost, and it wouldn't have made a difference.
I just go with the flow, and I hate to say that, but, this is great. I had a good time today, and, enjoyed the moment.
With the enthusiasm and excitement generated over these events, it looks like it could be the start of a new tradition down in this end of town.
And this is our edition this year. Next year, we hope to add a full-blown lobster and seafood festival.
Downtown Plymouth, I'm Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News.
The Ada Hall House in Pembroke is one of the oldest dwellings in the town and is overseen by the Pembroke Historical Society. Over a year ago, Kyle Harney took over as the caretaker, and PCN recently stopped in to see how he's doing and how the property is faring for the summer.
I am Kyle Harney. I am the caretaker here at the Ada Hall House in Pembroke, Massachusetts. I have been the caretaker here for just under a year. We had kind of a challenging winter, but in that time we have brought chickens into the mix here, as well as our great garden that is being managed for us by Nate Bregley, and we are very proud of what we're doing here, trying to grow the property a little bit, kind of the way it would have been done in the old days. They constantly changed what they did on the properties. This was originally known as the Annis Lot. That's what it was called before the house was built in 1685 by Robert Barker Jr. Currently we have 16 chickens. We have 4 coming on that will be giving us more eggs. We have been selling the eggs to a few local people that have been buying them, and then any extra eggs we have we give to the food pantry here in Pembroke, so people have farm fresh eggs. Colonial Days was just last month. The kids came, our trustees entertained them for the afternoon. Each of the elementary schools came, and they learned a lot about what it's like to grow up in this venerable home. When the Barkers moved here, they had 9 children. I live here alone, and it's a lot of house, but it's a charming location, and I encourage people to call the Historical Society should they want to see the house. I'm open to appointments if people want to have a tour. We intend to continue to explore ideas that might expand what we can do on the property. We have a back lot that's actually kind of overridden with poison ivy right now, so I think the next step might be goats to clear the poison ivy, and then we might grow hay there. It's a lot of property to take care of, and I enjoy doing it, and I'm so pleased that I was chosen to be the caretaker for the property.
I'm Nate Bregley, the head gardener here at the Ada Hall House. I upkeep a market garden. I sell the vegetables to local restaurants. growing kale this year, tomatoes, and one of my favorite vegetables, kohlrabi. I also have a lot of zucchinis for zucchini blossoms, radishes. Those are nice, quick thing to grow, and hopefully some pumpkins too this year. The food goes to local restaurants, the one I work at up in Hingham, and a juice bar in Plymouth I have a partnership with down there. They take pretty much all the kale that I grow. It's a great situation, local food, and you know, as fresh as you can get, really good quality, organically raised and everything like that. I want to thank the Historical Society for letting me use the land. They share my views on local food and getting the community involved in production and making it more visible and using some of these pieces of land that are otherwise sitting idle for something that's, you know, productive and benefits the community.
The art of storytelling has been really taking off, with story slams happening in towns and cities across the country. Storytelling is historically one of the first means of communication, as well as a way of maintaining cultures and histories of families and communities. PCN met up with a local children's storyteller to hear how important this art form is to children and families.
How many people are ready for a story? Raise your hand up in the air. Excellent. Well, my name is Big Ryan. I came to tell some stories today, but I usually don't come by myself. I usually have some friends come out with me. Storytelling started for me because one of my professors, I was taking a class called Oral Communications, and he kind of sat me down afterwards. We were reading a children's book in class. He sat me down and he said, everybody in this life has a gift. He's like, this is yours. You should go out and do something with it. And I didn't even know this was something you could do for a living.
Edgar, you just said, hey, Uncle Charlie, guess what? So I said what? So what?
What? We live in a day and an age where a lot of the kids are focused with screens. You know, they have their computers, and then they also, you know, it's television, and those things can be really fun and sometimes very educational and important. But storytelling is almost like a lost art. You're able to use your imagination. You're able to actually just picture things in your head for once. You know, storytelling to me is that, you know, the original kind of entertainment where people would sit around and just listen to somebody tell something, and it's different to each person. That's what's kind of really cool to me. Each child that's here today is going to have a different picture in their head of what that story looks like, what the characters look like. They're going to build their own, you know, neighborhood in their heads, which is really, really fun. My storytelling hat usually helps me remember my stories, and all I have to do is slip it on nice and slow.
Sorry about that.
My storytelling... Put the books away for a little while and just sit with your child at night, you know, cuddling up in bed, and just tell them a story, just straight from your memory. And all you really need is a beginning, and, you know, a middle and an end. You just, in the beginning, you introduce characters. You talk about the different characters, and in the middle, something happens. And in the end, there's a resolution. So all you have to do is come up with a problem that you want to talk about, have that kind of happen after you've introduced the characters, and then have them fix the problem in the end. You can say whatever you want, you can play however you want, be as goofy as you want, and all you're doing is actually spending time in reinforcing literature and reinforcing the great idea of being able to use your imagination without having any kind of props with you. Just straight storytelling from your head.
Hi, my name is Joe. I have 2 kids and I work in a Barton factory. One day, my boss came up to me and he said, "Are you busy?" I said, "No." Then push the button with your right foot. What? My foot? Okay, ready? Hi, my name is Joe. I have 2 kids. And I work in a button factory. One day, my boss came up to me and he said...
It's been quite the ride, and I hope it lasts for a long time, because this is probably the best thing that's ever suited me. I can't think of anything better than, you know, getting in front of a crowd and making them laugh for 45 minutes, and then letting them go off still giggling, you know.
Big Ryan holds building stories workshops at area libraries where he promotes literacy in unique ways, such as using voices and puppets, literally taking the stories out of the book. Children learn to dissect heroes, villains, and plot devices. This fall, we'll have a series at the Plymouth Library, and you can go visit the website or the library to find out dates.
You know, he's right. People don't tell stories to their kids anymore. They watch videos or they read books, but to actually just sit down and tell a story is a lost art, and I think it's great he's doing it.
Yeah, it looks like a new generational thing, because I remember during the summer I'd go to the beach and do other stuff, but it looks kind of fun.
Of course you did. Located on Summer Street in Plymouth, you'll find the Jenny Museum, where you can get tours of places the Pilgrims really went and find out lots of history and facts that you may never have known. Tour guide Leo Martin had a little time in between tours to give us some background information on this wonderful place.
In this museum, we are building an exhibit called Family, Cornerstone of Society, where we talk about the importance of the family and the importance of the family to the development of our country. So that's mainly what we do here. We tell the whole Pilgrim story from beginning to end and how they affected the beginning of our country. Here in Plymouth, I do a walking tour of the original site of Plymouth Plantation. Where the plantation is located today is not the original site. We walk down Town Brook, hit all the monuments, talk about the reason the Pilgrims came here, the attraction of Town Brook, the reason they stayed here, Burial Hill, where they built their fort, and we tell the whole story of the Pilgrims as we take a walk through downtown. We primarily tell the story of faith. That's what really brought the Pilgrims here. They came here because of their faith, so that's the story we tell as we walk along the original site of the plantation. Inside the Jenny Museum, we do have exhibit rooms. One exhibit room is called The Pilgrim Pursuit of Happiness. It tells about 5 liberties the Pilgrims were pursuing when they came to Plymouth: spiritual liberty, religious, constitutional, political, and economic, and how they're all tied together to tell the Pilgrim story. Not only do we have the Pursuit of Happiness room, we also have an exhibit room that will tell you how to grow a cranberry. You are in cranberry country, and A.D. Makepeace, the largest cranberry grower in the world, helped us put together an exhibit in the building to show people about the production of cranberries. It's so important to our part of the country, and it's such a great economic story. In this part of the building, we have an exhibit called Family, Cornerstone of Society, where we do talk about the importance of the family and how the family is the founding part of our country. Our country is built off the family. Down here we do talk about home education, home government, home economics, influence, family habits, and of course discipline, as they all come together to build a strong family unit. As you finish the tours that we have outside the building, you can come in the building and we do a little tour called Conversations with a Pilgrim, where you can actually talk to pilgrims of different age groups and get a perspective from their group. That's exactly what happened here in Plymouth in the 1600s. Our goal is to bring history back to a place where we put the human element back into the story. If you don't have a human element in a history story, the story doesn't make sense.
Our pet adoption highlight takes us to Kingston to meet some young and peppy kittens ready for adoption.
Ollie and Jonesy are 2 very special boy kitties. Ollie is a young tuxedo cat, approximately 7 months old, and Jonesy, the little guy, is just over 10 weeks old. From the day they met, they've been inseparable. They're available for adoption as a special needs bonded pair. Ollie has tested positive for feline leukemia, and since Jonesy has been exposed to Ollie, there may be a chance that he has the virus too. He will need to be tested when he is 3 months old in order to get the most accurate results. But cats with the virus can live happy, healthy lives with proper care, and these 2 are very playful and full of energy. Jonesy spent his morning romping, rolling, chasing, and exploring every cat toy and tube at the shelter. Ollie doesn't seem to get tired of the attention. They are lovable kitties. While visiting the shelter, I did notice that Mia and Katie, another bonded pair, were still at the shelter and in need of a home. They're 2 of the most affectionate cats I've ever met. And adopting cats in pairs has its benefits. For more information, contact the Kingston Animal Shelter directly by email at kaco1@comcast.net or go online to petfinder.com and search zip code 02364.
This week's Town Talk brings Plymouth Town Manager Melissa Arrighi to our set. Welcome, Melissa.
Thanks, Jules.
Lots of things to talk about: Sims House, 1820 Courthouse, Morton Park, and the Lieutenant Governor's visit.
All very exciting things as far as I'm concerned. So let's start with the Sims House in South Plymouth. The Sims Foundation turned that back over to the town a few weeks ago. They had done a great phase 1 on the project. We had bought the building through town meeting, beautiful old mansion. They completed some of the exterior work, and now they've turned it back over to the town to take on finishing the whole project. It's a couple $2 million project, but ultimately it's going to be a great asset to that village center. It will have a community room on the first floor, hopefully some offices, some space to rent on the second floor, and then affordable units on the top floor. We've put Lee Hartman, Director of Planning and Development, in charge as the internal project manager. Great. He'll work closely with Donna Curtin from the Antiquarian Society, who will help us on the historical aspects. We'll also get a professional project manager that will help us oversee the whole project, like we would with any big project.
Sure.
And certainly the building committee is always a key component, because under our charter, they become in charge of projects once town meeting has appropriated the funding.
Right. Okay. 1820 Courthouse.
So it's starting. I know it doesn't look like much is happening downtown, but we really want to get through the tourist season. We'll be breaking ground in the fall, hopefully in October. Our pre-qualification bids have been completed, so we know who some of our subcontractors will be. We're looking at our overall contractor now. Our project manager has been doing a ton of work, as well as our architectural firm. So hang in there. You're going to start to see something in fall, and then it will be a crazy year and a half.
I bet. I bet. We're looking forward to it. The whole town is. Morton Park, what's up?
So Morton Park, we always have some difficulties there in the summer for our residents and neighbors in the area. We do have an influx of people there that don't necessarily treat the park with the respect it deserves. Right. That's between littering, not using the restroom facilities appropriately, just abuse of the overall land. And the selectmen have decided that through the years we've tried different tactics. We just can't tolerate it anymore. So. Currently, the selectmen have made the decision to close the park at 5 o'clock. We clear everybody out. It took place for the first time very recently. We cleared out over 1,000 people, many of whom did not want to leave. Wow. We had to use both the assistance of our recreational staff, environmental managers and stewards, as well as we had to bring the police in. Wow. We're going to continue that through the summer, but you may see some more drastic changes next year. It would not surprise me if this does become residential only. We just can't have that kind of abuse.
Right, absolutely. You got to nip that in the bud. And with our last half minute or so, the Lieutenant Governor visits and the compact with the town.
You know, we're excited about signing this community compact with the Governor's office. Lieutenant Governor has been already incredibly supportive of Plymouth. We want to continue that. You're going to see us present very soon 3 best practices that we will be adopting, 1 or maybe even all 3 of those. That's going to make us a lot more eligible for grants, and that's what we like to see.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
More information, as always, by Melissa Arrighi. Appreciate it. And we're going to end tonight's show with our arts and entertainment reporter, Maureen Bates, who's going to introduce a really, really fascinating musician. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much, Julie. So tonight I am extra privileged to have on the set Victor and Henry Acker, a jazz duet, father-son jazz duet. I'm going to start off with you, Henry, if that's okay.
Sure.
How old are you?
I'm 11 years old.
And can you tell me when you first started playing guitar?
I started 2 years ago. My dad mostly interested me in playing guitar because I was like always in the background of his performances. And one day he had a concert at French Culture Center, and I thought gypsy jazz was really cool because it was fast.
That's awesome. So I was reading up about Django Reinhardt, and I found out that he had this hand injury where he only played with 2 fingers. Can you do that?
No, probably can't.
That's okay. You're still pretty awesome. Victor, I have to ask you, was this a fatherly instinct to encourage this in him?
No, it just kind of happened. Like I say, we were playing a gig at the French Cultural Center in Boston, and we had 2 guitar trio and upright bass, and we were learning all the Django tunes, and he was always in the corner, and one day the light switch went on. He picked up the other guitar player's guitar and did something, and all the air just went out of the room. and the guitar player knew at that moment that he was done. So
that's incredible. Well, I'm really excited to have you guys on the set today, so thank you very much. And when you're ready, take it away.